Welcome to the XT Podcast, your ultimate destination for valuable insights, practical advice, and inspiring stories that will transform the way you experience business, governance, and life. Join your host, Ashutosh, as he dives deep into three distinct editions: Customer Experience Edition, where industry leaders discuss CX strategies, product brand, employee experience, digital innovations, and best practices for improving customer engagement, retention, and loyalty.
What does it truly take to build a culture of innovation? How can organizations drive customer-led innovation that leads to sustainable growth and impact? And how do leaders cultivate environments where employees feel empowered to contribute their best, aligned with the evolving needs of customers? In today's episode, we tackle these compelling questions and more with a leader who has transformed how companies think about growth, customer experience, and the future of work, Karen Mangia. Karen Mangia is a catalyst for innovation and transformation, currently serving as President and Chief Strategy Officer of the Engineered Innovation Group, a high-growth B2B SaaS startup. She also contributes her expertise as a board advisor for Podopolo, a VC-backed startup that's redefining podcasting with AI. With a profound background in customer success, Karen previously held the role of Vice President of Customer and Market Insights at Salesforce, where she regularly consulted with Fortune 1000 companies and high growth startups, helping them navigate transformation, increase market share, and reimagine their customer experience strategies. Karen's leadership experience extends across notable roles, including spearheading customer experience and supplier diversity programs at Cisco, where her metrics became the basis of compensation for employees worldwide. Her pioneering work led to the creation of Cisco's first partner experience team, turning CX into a profitable venture that resulted in a 400% plus increase in service offerings and 35% cost savings. Recognized by industry leaders, Karen has received Forrester's Voice of the Customer Award and the CX Impact Award from the Customer Experience Professionals Association. She's also a two-time winner of AT&T's Chairman's Award for her outstanding sales performance. Beyond her executive roles, Karen is the author of 5 influential books, including Success from Anywhere, Working from Home, and Listen Up, each offering deep insights on transforming work, customer engagement, and personal growth. She also hosts the Success from Anywhere podcast, focused on the future of work, and has served on nonprofit boards in the performing arts as well. In this episode, Karen brings her wealth of experience and vision to a discussion on fostering a culture of innovation. We will explore the pivotal role that customer insights play in driving innovation, her approach to building cross-functional teams that champion customer needs, and why she believes that innovation starts with creating a human-centered workplace. She shares wisdom on moving beyond one-way communication of vision and values, instead fostering two-way conversations that help employees feel connected to a shared purpose. From reflections on her award-winning strategies to practical insights on aligning innovation with customer success, Karen's perspectives offer a roadmap for leaders seeking to drive both employee engagement and customer satisfaction. Whether you're an executive, an entrepreneur, or a customer experience professional, this episode is packed with insights and insightful one-liners to inspire your own journey towards building an innovative, customer-led organization. Let's dive in. Hey, thank you so much, Karen, for joining us at the XT podcast. It's a privilege having you on the show.
Thanks for the opportunity and for the invitation. I always enjoy these kinds of conversations.
And likewise, Karen, there's so much to learn from leaders like you, especially on a topic which I feel is so relevant to today's day and age. But more importantly, this is such an auspicious occasion as well, Karen. I briefly mentioned this to you. We have our Festival of Light here in India as we are talking to each other now. And this is that festival where we wish each other and celebrate the health, wealth, and prosperity. So wishing you and your family a lot of health, wealth, and prosperity as well.
Happy Diwali, and I return that well wish to you and to all of your listeners as well.
Thank you so much, Karen. Well, at the outset, Karen, if I may say, you are such an accomplished professional yourself. I mean, if I look at your career trajectory as well, you've been a TEDx speaker, you're an established and a best-selling author, you have been a board advisor, successful leader, you have kind of led several business critical functions for many global organizations. In your own words, the way you craft it, I love the way you crafted that as well. You're a catalyst, creator, connect, and coach for businesses and leaders. And now, of course, you're chief strategy officer and president at the Engineered Innovations Group. So, with such an illustrious career, Karen, I truly wanted to start with your own personal journey and professional journey with innovation. So, the question is, how has innovation shaped your own personal and professional journey? What's one of the most impactful innovations you have been a part of? I would really love to know that.
When I hear someone describe me as an innovator, it takes me by surprise because I don't necessarily feel innovative per se, and maybe your listeners can relate as well. And as I was thinking about our conversation and thinking back over the course of my life, my original innovation was writing original content. It might surprise you to
Nice.
discover that my grandparents, yes, would take their grandchildren each summer for 1 week of visiting without our parents. And
Wow.
imagine how fun that is. Stay up as late
Yes.
as you want, eat what you want. Well, I would use my time to write a play and I would cast my cousins in it. And when our parents came to pick us up, we would perform this play. And I thought,
Wow.
in a way, writing, creating content is an innovation. Well, carry that forward in the world that I'm living in now at the Engineered Innovation Group. One of the most impactful innovations I've had the opportunity to help bring to market is something we call Roxie AI. It's an
Okay.
orchestration layer and automation layer that uses AI to help people get more from the software they already have without the need to retire, replace, or refresh their existing software. And the reason it's so powerful is that we are proving out that we can automate manual tasks. We can help people be more
Right.
productive. We can help people work where they are. And what that means is we're freeing people up, whether that's in healthcare or public service or a variety of industries, to be more of service, to provide the value services in which we all find purpose, as opposed to spending a bunch of time on that manual work. I mean, it's hard to find
Right.
purpose inside of a cell on a spreadsheet, right?
Absolutely.
So we're changing
Yeah.
the game and making people more productive, the ability to have a bigger impact, and also for executives, making it easier and speeding up their ability to make decisions. Because when you think about it, when we have more information about the business, it's easier to make decisions for the business and to deliver the wonderful customer experiences that I know you and I both care deeply about.
Karen, I can't agree more with you. If I slightly sidestep on our conversation, there are two aspects to innovation, right, Karen? One is the innovation itself, and the other is the impact of the innovation. And especially when it comes to things like automation, there is a sensitivity around it, which is, hey, is it going to help me be more productive? Or is it going to take away my job from me? And these are two very distinct thought processes, especially when there's something new and people don't yet know what it's all about. There are all these assumptions and perspectives on it. So when we are actually innovating, going into the innovation itself, how do we preempt and empathize and work towards democratizing the innovation as well? Should it be a day one exercise? Should it be an afterthought? Or given all that experience you have had around innovation, how do you feel this aspect is being handled and also should be handled? Any thoughts on that?
What I like about what you're saying is you're highlighting one of the reasons that we fail to adopt or to try something new: fear.
Right.
And I experienced what you're talking about through the lens of having a marketing extern this summer. A little bit
Okay.
about Leah Wen, our extern. She came to the United States from Vietnam to attend university and to study marketing and communications. And she joined us this summer to craft content ranging from social media posts to newsletters and more. Now, Leah speaks 3 languages. She is incredibly bright and hardworking, and she could barely spell AI before she started with us. And as our time together progressed, what she revealed is that she was afraid as a student who put in this immense time and effort to come to the United States to pursue a degree, that AI was going to make her job obsolete.
Wow.
What she went on to discover, and in fact, she wrote a blog about this, about how to overcome fear in people like her, which are the people that you and I work with every day and that your listeners have in their workplaces, is to show people how it makes them better, how any innovation makes them better, and to your word, more impactful at what they do. And a line she said that stuck with me is, when I'm crafting content, I like to write my own words because I write and speak from the heart. And then when I
Wow.
put what I write from the heart in ChatGPT, ChatGPT tells me that my heart can't spell. So it works that out for me. And what she discovered was the core of her value, which is her creation, her innovation, her content, her idea, how she sees the world or a problem or an opportunity, and her ability to articulate it is only enhanced when she participates and utilizes the innovation that's available to her. And what she discovered is she could make a bigger impact more quickly by having some tools, some innovation like ChatGPT and AI to
Absolutely.
help make her thoughts better. And so when I think about navigating fear and the fear that gets in the way of adopting innovation, I think about starting with where people are and saying, if we could take one task off your plate that you don't enjoy or doesn't connect to your feeling of a sense of purpose, or if you could look in the direction of a bigger impact, what would you want us to provide for you, and start there?
Love it. Love it. And I can so empathize with all that you said, because I've been party to this as well on both sides. I have been positively impacted by innovation, and I have contributed to the innovation as well. And in fact, Karen, when I read the title of your book, Success from Anywhere, what got more attention was not just the title, but the subtitle that you had: Create Your Own Future of Work from Inside Out. And I just love that, because truly that's where the transformation begins. Even the example that you just quoted, it's more inside out, right? And given that context now, Karen, how is the philosophy that you have articulated in that book connecting with the innovation, especially in the current times where, one, the speed of innovation is probably at the highest and will continue to grow, the impact that it has on the current way of working and the workforce is also at quite a high time, and three, it's not just impacting the way of work but possibly also the culture itself in general. So given all this, how do you feel the philosophy that you've crafted in Success from Anywhere, it's not just relevant, but it's pointing towards what's happening in the world today in this space?
What I've discovered is that success is a mindset. Successful people have a mindset that says choice is always on and always available. And that ranges from choosing to adopt a new innovation and try something new that might feel scary. It includes the choice to change your relationship with your circumstances, that toxic workplace perhaps, even if your circumstances don't change. And success is a mindset that says, I'm as successful as I define myself to be. And that's what I mean by that phrase, success comes from the inside out. What we discover is when we change our relationship with our circumstances and our mindset about them, we can access a higher degree of resilience. And resilience is how we come to new ideas, new choices, and seeing new paths to possibilities, even inside of very difficult circumstances.
Absolutely. This must be true for the organization as well, Karen, right? Like, when we talk about mindset, it's not just the individual mindset, but additionally and possibly the organizational mindset as well, which points to culture. So is innovation proportionate to the culture as well? Is culture a huge catalyst in the innovation itself? And how, if so, leaders can cultivate an innovation centric culture? Is there a way in which a leader can drive an organization towards innovation via culture?
Culture is critical. And what I've observed is that the most innovative organizations who bring everyone along on the journey and also continue to grow, regardless of how their industry might be changing, they are often the most curious teams of
Yes.
people and organizations. They ask great questions. And when you think about it, great discoveries begin as great questions. And one of my favorites inside of innovative cultures, teams, and organizations is, what else could this be?
Nice.
Asking that simple question opens up a whole process of discovery.
True that. In fact, Karen, if I may say, one of the organizations that I'm working with closely for value transformation, one of the key asks from the leader was that while innovation is one of the core values in the organization, it's a great value to have, but it's not enacted on the ground. And there's a big gap between the value that they have and the actions and the behaviors of the individuals in the organization. That while the organization wants to nurture innovation, the actions don't reciprocate on that value. And this is something I've seen in several organizations as well. What you're saying is accepted as necessary. It's probably there as a core value as well, but then the core values remain as slides on an onboarding deck or a poster on a wall, but they are not necessarily coming through in the actions itself. So how does an organization bring a value into action so that every individual, irrespective of the functions they are in, they all try and innovate it within the space that they operate in? Is there any way to convert values into actions?
Yes, and what you're describing is a critically important litmus test for every leader and for every organization, which is exploring, honestly, how frequently your say and your do ratio match. Meaning, how
Right.
often when you say we're customer first, do your actions support that? Meaning, when you say employee engagement and healthcare and wellness are critically important, how often do your actions align with that? Because for many people, the stated experience of the culture of the organization does not match the lived experience of what it's like to be an employee on a day-to-day basis there. When I think about values, what's critically important first and foremost is for each individual in the organization to pause and reflect on, what is your top value? I'm not talking about the 3 to 5 that your company puts below the vision statement or the mission statement. I'm
Right.
talking about you personally as an individual. What is your top value? And once you assess that, the next question to consider is, how does your top value show up every day in that job? And then
Nice.
have that conversation. I found there's a wonderful discovery process that happens when I just simply ask you, as a colleague or a teammate or as a leader, what's your top value? Why does that matter to you so much? What do you need so that value can show up more every single day here in your job? When we understand people's values, we understand what matters most. And as human beings, we are innately compelled to help people get more of what they want or to get unstuck.
How amazing. This is fairly simple, right? Because this gap is evident in the reporting that would happen. If a leader believes that certain value is important, it should show up in the reporting in terms of what is acted on the ground. But I've seen often the leaders focus on the transactional metrics, which is top line, bottom line, and of course that's important, not that it isn't. But I've often seen that the organizations don't have additional metrics to track culture, to kind of track coordination, to track collaboration, to track innovation. And what I've seen leaders, what they see is what the organization does, and if they don't see certain important things, the actions don't follow. So do you feel there's importance of metrics as well, that there should be cultural metrics by way of OKRs or any such mechanism which ensures that every leader of every function in some way or the other tracks values, incentivizes value enactment, promotes, rewards, recognizes, builds a momentum towards it, rather than just technical competency and performance? Is that as well a necessity in an organization?
I define burnout as living outside of your values for an extended period of time. Think about our conversation a moment ago. If I shared with you that my top value is to be completely available and present to continue to cook Sunday dinner for my 100-year-old grandfather every Sunday, and then my boss scheduled a meeting every single Sunday during that exact period of time, it wouldn't take
Right.
me very long to feel burnout, right? Because I'm living outside of my values. So when we get those employee pulse surveys, or when we have exit interviews with people who leave the organization and they tell us they're burnt out or it's a toxic work culture, what that means is we are asking people and almost forcing them as a cultural norm to be successful or progress, to live outside of their values for an extended period of time. And what I think about is, when you see that burnout metric, or when you see that employee engagement metric, or when you see the answer to that question that says, if you were offered an equivalent amount of money, how likely would you be to stay at this organization? And those scores start to decline. What that
Yes.
tells you is people are living outside of their values. And that's the burnout. That's leaving. That's, I want to go to a place where my values and my value are correlated.
Beautiful. Never heard it being this simple. Karen, thank you for simplifying it for us and for all the listeners and viewers. You're so right, because often I've seen when there's a conversation around rewards, recognitions, retain employee engagement and retention, it's somehow always correlated with commercial outcomes, with payout. Whereas there's just so much more that the employees need in terms of respect, in terms of empathy, encouragement, competency, relatedness, autonomy, status. There's just so much that we are all as humans needing. In fact, I had such a lovely conversation just in the earlier episode with Eric Isle, who has written a book called Stop Engaging Employees But Make Work More Human. What you just mentioned, Karen, kind of enacts his principles now, because the burnout definition that you gave makes it very easy for anyone to see how the values could be aligned, so that it's easy for everyone to follow and also make it their own agenda in a way, rather than an organizational agenda. Can't agree more, Karen. When it comes to that, Karen, another element that I've also come across is value conflicts within the functional silos. Drive is one great example. What's drive for sales may not be drive for delivery, because, for example, sales would want to close a particular deal even if it's beyond a competency, and drive for delivery would mean that they are honest in admitting their competencies and not stretching beyond the limit to which they cannot perform or deliver, and now they are at loggerheads because the values may conflict. And it's also often because the values are not defined in a contextual manner and they are not aligned rightly as well. So, are there any best practices you have come across to build cross functional collaboration, avoid these value conflicts, build alignment in a natural way as well, so that everyone has a common goal, which is organizational success?
Conflict comes from putting your focus on where we are different rather than what we have in common. The successful life cycle I see to move forward when you reach an impasse, or to use your phrase, you're at a loggerhead and it seems that you have competing or conflicting objectives or definitions of success, is first, start with the conversation we had earlier. Conflict often comes from bumping up against people's deeply held perceptions and beliefs. If I believe that success is being 120% of quota, and you believe that delivery will be so overwhelmed that you can only handle and absorb in delivery 80% of quota being met, you have different definitions of what success looks like.
Yes.
Great teams and organizations, first of all, ask the question, what does success look like for you? Second, why does this matter to you so much? Third, they activate curiosity to say, what do we have in common? In the example that we just talked about between sales and delivery, the common denominator is customer success. It's not
Yes.
inside the organization. It's what you collectively deliver outside the organization that grows the business, that fuels everyone's success, pay raises, promotion, shareholder value, all of the good things. Success begins with identifying what we have in common. That makes it shared success. That gives us a common goal we're working toward. Now, how we might need to get to that outcome could be different, and that's okay. You and I could both have the same value of family, and we could execute that very differently. That's okay. It begins with defining and explicitly documenting what we have in common and shared metrics of success. The how we bring it to life comes after that, and it can be different for both parties.
Well articulated, Karen. Is customer always a good North Star to have? Because ultimately, every function is collaborating to achieve, as you rightly said, the customer success. And then how one gets to that could be, right, as you rightly said, different for each individual function. But the ultimate goal is one. Is that a good North Star to have for every organization?
Think outside in. Think about who it is you serve, why you serve, and what is the greatest good that you aspire to come from that service. That could be for a patient in a healthcare context. That could be for a guest in a restaurant or at a hotel in the hospitality context. That could be for a customer in the B2B SaaS world. Work outside in. Who do you serve? Why do you serve? What is the greatest good that you need or expect or hope or aspire to come from that service? And therefore, what actions do you need to take as a result? I have yet to find a business, and I challenge you to find one if you can and let me know, that can survive without someone that pays them money.
Can't be simpler than that. In fact, I have therefore also seen that the organizations who don't co-create innovations with the customer often fail to have the alignment and connect, because they are missing out on the most important stakeholder for which they are innovating in the first place. In your experience, while the innovation is being worked out, Karen, are there any optimal ways of ensuring that the customer's voice is heard, leveraged, and utilized for building the innovation? How do we co-create with the customers? How do we get customers' voice into the innovation?
Co-creation is a transcendent business skill, and I'm glad you used that word. And at the end of the day, we all feel greater ownership of what we help to create. When we feel heard and seen, we are more likely to take action on whatever the initiative, the change, the tool, whatever that might be. When I think about the opportunity to co-create for and with our customers, one of the best questions I've discovered is this: what would this look like if it were easier? Not easy. Healthcare will never be easy. The government will never be easy. Implementing lots of technology will never be easy. Easier says, how could we together, a little bit at a time, go on a journey of progress, where together we identify what you need and what we're willing to do in response to that. So a little bit at a time, we progress on easier. That simple question, what would this look like if it were easier, invites co-creation with your customers.
Words matter, don't they, Karen? Easy, easiest, and easier. Such a fine difference, but has such a huge impact. Well called out. Karen, on that note, that when I engage with startups, the ability to co-create with the customers, or rather the mindset to be focused on co-creation, is very high, because there's always a lookout for what more can we do, how we could be relevant, what we could do to be far more closer to customers expectations, and so on. And that is inside out as well as outside in. There's a healthy balance between the two. Whereas the moment we grow, there's a success established, there's a scale coming in. I've seen that the organization starts being constrained by what they've defined as their identity. And irrespective of the voices they hear from the market, they may be seeking feedback, but there's a slight resistance coming in to accept and move on with that feedback, because they constantly try and validate with the definition they've already crafted and they want to stick to. Is this a common issue that you see in startups versus large enterprises? And if yes, are there any ways in which there's a healthy entrepreneurship within a larger organization so that this issue doesn't come in, or the bureaucracy doesn't kick in, and we're always nimble, always agile? Is there any way to manage that as well? Two questions in one, but sorry, I had to combine these two. They are very interrelated.
I'm going to let you and your listeners in on a secret. And this secret is true only 100% of the time.
Wow.
All human beings on planet Earth of any age and any stage respond favorably to autonomy and choice. At the end of the
Nice.
day, from your toddler who doesn't want to eat vegetables to the executive who doesn't want to be told what to do, at the end of the day, nobody likes to be told what to do, especially if they feel that their voice has not been seen, heard, and considered. That brings us to the crux of the answer to both of your questions, which is this. When you think about innovation, the size of the organization does not matter. The execution of the innovation is what matters. In an entrepreneurship or startup setting, entrepreneurs choose and have more flexibility to insource innovation, meaning
Yes.
the co-creation happens, and once the co-creation transpires, we can co-execute. In very large enterprises, the choice that is available, the autonomy that exists, is to choose to make progress following co-creation with outsourcing innovation. That's something we've discovered in our journey at the Engineered Innovation Group, where I work now. We started by helping startup, building B2B SaaS products, helping people get their minimum viable products to market more quickly. And as we moved upstream, what we realized in mid-market and enterprise-sized organizations is they needed to outsource the execution of innovation so that they could move more quickly. They have to spend so much time running the business that it's difficult to prioritize, find time, and have the skill sets to execute innovation. What they're great at is ideation and co-creation. So the difference is where it gets executed, not the activity. And that feeling of having a choice and having a voice prompts people to rally around that innovation, regardless of where the execution happens.
Lovely. I mean, when you put it out this succinctly, one cannot but appreciate the effort that has gone into come to this simplicity. Because while you may have summed it up in a line, I'm sure there are years and years of experiences backing that statement that you just made. So kudos to you and your experience, Karen. In fact, if I may extend that thought further, typically in the past decade, most often than not, the organizations have been asked make or buy. So that's a difficult decision to make. Quite often, one of the important pieces that is missed in that question is make or buy or partner. And partner is such a strengthening asset that an organization can have, is they often miss. And in some way or the other, you kind of brought that out through your explanation. And one thought that comes out of this as a takeaway is also access to diversity, Karen. Irrespective of the size of the organization, as you rightly said, the more diversity of thoughts you bring into your organization, the more possibility of innovation opens up. And that's what every organization has tested and tried and discovered through the successes they have had as well, that this is really helpful, very healthy. um, how does an organization cultivate diversity? Is this purely in terms of hiring diversity or something beyond? Is there something beyond the individuals and the diversity of the individuals, or is there a cultural element to it? Is there a nurturing element to this? How does an organization become diverse in terms of the thought processes it inculcates, the voices it hears, and the voices it acknowledges?
The best litmus test of your diversity and inclusion strategy is how decisions are made inside of your organization and how strategy is set. If your organization is the type that the senior leaders go off to an executive retreat and they whiteboard and they brainstorm and they all look at each other in their rich jobs and fancy clothes, and then they come back from this retreat refreshed with these innovative epiphanies from on high. And by the way, they typically all look the same and have essentially the same profile. And then they hand down from on high this executive wisdom, the mandate of innovation for the organization. Your organization is by definition not diverse. When people who don't look like you, who aren't at your pay level, and who aren't at your experience level are a part of that decision-making process, you're more likely to be a truly diverse and inclusive organization. It's back to what we were talking about earlier. Does what you say and what you do match? If your organization is diverse and inclusive, the people who don't look and act and think like you have a seat at the table, not only to show up in your hiring statistics, not only to show up at the run the diversity, equity, and inclusion committee or your employee resource groups. They show up where powerful decisions that affect the strategy and future direction of the business are being made.
Unfortunately, still the executive led directioning and executive led push is heavy in most organizations. In fact, if at all an organization becomes democratic in the way you just mentioned, it's diverse, it takes the opinions and builds the strategy and decision making ground up. It'll be great for sure, but then what it opens up is a question on ownership of success and failure, isn't it? Who owns the success and failure of the decisions made, and the strategies taken up, and is there a better way of handling success and failure so that there's a buildup of risk appetite for innovation? Because innovation does need acceptance to failure, respecting failure, and it's again a part of culture where this is cultivated and nurtured. So how does one handle successes and failures in this regard as well?
Everyone owns success, everyone owns failure. And what gets in the way of shared success is ego. Leaders often fall into the belief that they should have all the answers and that they are the ones making it happen. And without them, there would be nothing. When at the end of the day, the success or failure of any intention is action. If I asked you today, do you intend to eat healthy? You would tell me yes.
Yes.
Now, at the end of the day, if I ask you if you actually ate healthy, most of the time, most people did not follow through on that intention, which is why the outcome is compromised health. Organizations are the same way. Great leaders ask great questions. Great leaders ask great questions of lots of people. And then success and failure become something that is shared.
So thank you for bringing these things up, Karen. If I were to move forward now in terms of the future of work in itself, Karen, there is just so much of technology that's coming up. We started our conversation with automation in a way. Now there's AI that's coming up, and there are just so many implications of AI, analytics, Gen AI on the future of work in general. Remote working was never thought to be a norm, and now it is. And now people are saying no more remote working, come back to offices. There's a huge motion around it. I see when we talk about future of work, there is no consensus building up, but just too many thoughts, several ideations, several possibilities. As someone who's a future of work strategist, Karen, what is your view of the future of work? How do you see the world emerging, especially in the space of future of work?
I believe that AI has the power to change the way that we work, from automating manual tasks to reducing the amount of task switching. I believe that AI has the power to help people work in a variety of styles and work where you already work. Earlier in the show, I was mentioning Roxie AI, our solution that provides an orchestration and automation experience that allows you to work where you already do work. And what we've discovered that's so powerful is that 58% of the average employee workday is spent on tasks about tasks. Meaning,
Wow.
go to the software, go to the spreadsheet, go to the system where some piece of information I need to do my job lives, and pull it together. If we could give back even half of that time, which we're proving with Roxie that we can do by integrating into your existing workflow, pulling all that for you, allowing you to interact with it in Teams or Slack or CRM or email. And then on top of that, surfacing actionable insights. Imagine how much cognitive capacity that would collectively free up to look in the
Wow.
direction of value creation. That's the power of the possible with AI. It's not because we're taking people's jobs away. It's because we're giving people the intelligence and the automation to be more impactful and to spend time on creating value rather than volume.
I agree. And I am as positive and optimistic about the future of work. Karen, I hope this word spreads and people acknowledge the benefits that this has for all of us here. Karen, before we close, I cannot help but ask this one very important question. What is your best advice for leaders driving innovation agenda in the organizations today?
Knowing is the enemy of discovering. When you think you know everything or you're an expert at something, you will get in your own way of discovering what's new and innovative and possible.
Karen, if I may say, you should write one book on one-liners on innovation, because literally each of your one-liners I genuinely feel so, Karen, because each of your one-liner could be a chapter in itself. Like, you simplify it in a line, but if we were to elaborate, we could talk about it for half an hour or more, right? Each of these statement, it's a gold nugget. I'm so glad we did this, Karen. Really appreciate your time and availability for the show. Amazing insights. Within this short time, I have already picked up a few one-liners that I'm going to make a part of my talk track, with all the credits given to you, Karen, for sure. And thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you. And again, happy Diwali.